Hello, everyone. Hey, how's everyone doing? Okay, thanks for tuning in. We're going to get started here. And we're going to talk about how to increase your capacity to move forward. This is especially going to be helpful if you find yourself just kind of low, in some low energy. You find yourself spinning in inaction. And, I don't know how true this is. This just might be more of a phenomenon for people experiencing physical limitation or some type of chronic illness or chronic pain. I mean, I think there is some studies and some data out there to suggest that. Um, I haven't been deep in that information, but all I'm saying is that this is going to be particularly useful if you are impacted by a physical limitation and you find yourself getting stuck in these cycles of low energy. Um, and I describe it this way. I use that word cycles because I think I've also shared some content related to this before where cycles of energy are normal and healthy. And so when I talk about being in some low energy and feeling stuck, that in and of itself isn't bad. It does, however, become problematic if you're in that place all the time, right? If you're not experiencing a cycle where you're going in and out of that state, then what I'm about to share might help you get out of that chronic state of feeling stuck and in low energy. And it will get you more into a healthy cycle of the human condition of high energy and low energy. Times of motivation, times of not feeling so motivated. All those things, that is all normal. That's part of the human condition. And so if you find that you're getting stuck, it's likely because of one practice that you're not implementing. And this single practice can be the spark that changes it for you. What is it? It's the practice of creating space. And this can be described in many different ways and forms. I'm going to use this term today, creating space, because this concept, this language, helps me with this practice. I can summarize the practice with other phrases or actions that it includes. The things that it includes are things like truth telling, uncovering pain, offering compassion, acceptance, like accepting what is, accepting where you are now. Creating space also includes things like grieving, loss, and feeling whatever you're feeling all emotion, creating space for it. Why does creating space increase your capacity to move? Why is it related to energy, to movement? Well, creating space resolves and heals. It resolves anger. It resolves or heals pain. See, negative emotion is not a problem, right? As I said before, I need to say this again. Negative emotion is not a problem. It's part of the human condition. We all will experience it. We all will experience different forms of anger, fear, and pain. There's nothing wrong with that. That is part of the human experience. When it becomes a problem, however, is when you indulge in it. When you get stuck in it. As I said before, it's when you're there for an extended period of time. What that exact time is, I mean, this is going to vary by person. I'm not going to give a specific number of hours or days. The thing that might be more useful is to get in touch with how you are experiencing, how you are processing the negative emotion, how you are reacting to anger, how you are reacting to pain. Because when you can just get in touch with that response, then you can determine whether or not you're resisting the negative emotion. It is the resistance of negative emotion or pain that causes you to get stuck in it. It's the resistance of it that creates the persistence of it. And when you're resisting the negative emotion or you're getting stuck, it's possible you're taking some action, and it's very likely it's not very productive action. Or your resistance might lead to a whole lot of inaction. Either of those scenarios aren't great for you, right? Aren't leading you to what you want. They aren't moving you forward. When you're indulging in anger, in other words, when you're resisting avoiding the negative emotion, when you're resisting avoiding the pain, you might actually be taking destructive action. So this is the outcome of resistance. It's the outcome of avoidance. It's the outcome of covering up anger, fear, or pain, or any other emotions related to those things. It can include emotions like frustration, sadness, disappointment, discouragement. But when you create space, the concept of creating space is about stopping the resistance. It's about stopping the avoidance. When you stop resisting and you stop avoiding, you free up energy. Think about the energy required to resist, to avoid. It's like um if you are all I can think of is a lion attacking me, okay? That's the example I'm going to use. It's like if a lion is coming at you. You're in danger in some way. You think you're in danger, right? We always, when it comes to emotions, um, most of the time, because of our society and the time that we live, it's not an actual indication of danger. It could be. You always want to get curious and explore it, but when you have that coming at you, like as if maybe it's a lion who's coming at you, if you're resisting it, think about the energy required to push back against that strong animal, to like use all of your effort and energy to push back. That is a whole lot of energy. Or the energy required to run away, to avoid, especially if you're talking about an animal that is likely faster than you. You have to exert so much energy to even last for a second in that effort to escape. It'll require so much energy. Um, so when you stop resisting and you stop avoiding, you free up energy. There's this energy that you would have spent that you don't spend. And thankfully, in the circumstances we're faced with and with negative emotion, when we stop resisting and we stop avoiding, thankfully, we're not going to get eaten by a lion. Okay? If we stick with this example of the lion, the problem is if you stop resisting and stop avoiding, you probably will die. But thankfully, that's an analogy, the best one I came up with in the moment, and that is not representative of the type of negative emotion or pain that we're facing in our day to day. In our case, when I'm dealing with discouragement, with sadness, with frustration, I can just stop fighting, stop avoiding, and I'm perfectly fine. I'm perfectly safe. I'm not getting eaten up by an animal. So it's this beautiful, amazing thing because I get to free up all this energy of avoiding, resisting, fighting against. I just get to conserve all of that and remain safe. And so, with that process of creating space is where we stop the resistance, we stop the avoidance, we have this newfound energy. And with that new energy, it's going to be much easier to take action. It's going to be much easier to get going, to move toward the thing we want. And it can come from an empowered place. All right. So, how do we create space? How do we create that mindset? Because that's what I'm describing here. It's a mental space. But I like the concept of space because it's also easy to visualize physically. And so you can imagine what the process is to create physical space. We might do this by, there's many different ways to go about creating space, and we can just like explore that. It's really fascinating, right? Space can be created by removing things. Like if there's a closet, I'm imagining a closet that is filled with all kinds of things. I don't know, blankets, sleeping bags, clothes, boxes of things and toys or whatever it might be that's filling this closet. If you want to create space, you can remove the things from the space. Another way to create space is to expand the volume of that space, right? If we had all those things in the closet, we could actually just keep them there and we could break down the walls and move them all back 5 feet. We can move them all so that we increase the space. We still have the stuff, but there's more capacity. So that's like this these analogies of and mental model of physical space is really to assist in the process of creating mental space. So, let's talk about this process of creating space in our mind and our body. First, remove any agenda. Beyond, other than creating space, right? The only agenda that we have with this process is to create space. One example, if I go back to the closet analogy, one example of having an agenda other than creating space is, we could say, it's to throw things away. It's to maybe eliminate the objects. That would be an agenda other than creating space. If we use a closet analogy, what I was saying is that we can move the things out of the closet to create the space. But the things are still there. We're going to keep the things there. If there's all these things in the closet, we're just going to move them out. We're just going to move them into the bedroom. We'll say if we're talking about a closet that's adjacent to a bedroom, we're just moving the items out of the closet. The items are still there. And that is the process of creating space. Doing it incorrectly, in other words, having an agenda, would mean, in this analogy, that we want to take everything in that closet and burn it. That's an agenda. And that's the wrong idea. That's the wrong idea for creating space. Creating space. Again, the objective here is to increase capacity to move forward, to create energy. And in order for us to create energy and capacity, increase our capacity to move forward, We've got to remove any agenda that includes the elimination of what's happening inside of us. As soon as we start to try to eliminate what's going on for us, eliminate our circumstances, our emotions, our pain, as soon as we start with that agenda, we move into problem solving mode. And guess what? We just went back to the concept of resisting, fighting, escaping. As soon as we have an agenda to eliminate the things, eliminate the lion, we're pushing back against the lion, or we start fighting against it. Do you know how much energy it takes to fight? If we want to create energy, increase capacity, we want to stop the fight. To stop the fight, we got to remove the agenda. Remove the agenda. All right, that's step one. The only agenda we have, the only objective is to create space for everything. Create space for everything that is. Okay, by the way, I'm going to share these steps and I'm going to walk through now a bunch of questions. And if you'd like these in written form, there's a link, chandlerlifecoaching.com/more content. You can provide your email address and I will email you these notes and these questions. All right. So first step, remove any agenda. Second step to create space is to inspect what you find with curiosity and without judgment. This idea, this process of like inspection is with curiosity is this process of creating space. Because when you approach something with curiosity and openness, you can even explore this with conversation with others. When you are in a curious energy, a curious emotion, just pay attention to that vibration. Like, pay attention to that, what it feels like in your body. Curiosity and removement of judgment is an energy source. It can be a very powerful energy source. So in this process of creating space, we are conserving energy and we're tapping into sources of energy. Conserving and tapping into sources of energy. Conserving energy and tapping into sources isn't landing right. We're conserving. I might simplify it to say we're conserving and we're generating. Right? We're conserving energy. We're generating energy. All right. So how, in this case, with inspection, are we generating energy? How do we go about that? So here's a series of questions. You are, again, creating space for what is. And so you do that by asking questions like, hey, what am I angry about? What am I sad about? What am I frustrated about? You know, if you think about emotion, like emotion is energy in your body. So when you're uncovering it, when you're allowing it, that is this process of like generating, we're like tapping into that energy source. What are you angry about? What are you sad about? What are you frustrated about? So we're allowing that, all those emotions to be there. And then we can also explore questions like, what are questions like this? How have you been unjustly treated? How have you been unjustly treated? So these questions are kind of stirring up some potential pain, right? Some negative emotion. We want that. That is the process of creating space. It's like, again, the lion analogy. We are inviting the lion. We're to stop fighting it and resisting it and trying to escape it, we have to ask some questions that get us into an open, curious, non-judgmental place to let the lion be there, to let the lion be with us. And thankfully, of course, in this case, we're not dealing with an actual lion that's going to eat us alive. All right. So how are we um, creating space for what is? We're asking some of these questions that could bring up some painful things, and we need to get into a mindset to allow those things to come up. So how have you been unjustly treated? What about your life circumstances seem unjust? When's the last time you've let yourself ask these questions and answer them? When's the last time you answered them openly in a safe space, a safe energy, a safe mental space, emotional space? You're just allowing yourself to state internally or out loud to state, how have I been unjustly treated? Or what about my life circumstances seem unjust? What do I believe has been stolen from me? What am I angry about? What um or sad? Like, why am I angry, or why am I sad? Why am I disappointed? Why am I heavy? Why am I depressed? Why am I discouraged? Any negative emotion, you're just stirring it up and inviting it to be expressed, to be experienced. You can ask questions like, and once you've kind of stirred this up and allowed this to be there, then you also ask questions like this: how can I create a safe space for everything I'm experiencing right now? Like, I'm stirring it up. I'm letting this lion be here. You might feel a bit threatened by stirring this up. You create space by reducing the threat, by increasing a sense of safety. So you can ask yourself, how can I create safety for everything I'm experiencing right now? For all the thoughts I'm having, for all the emotions I'm feeling, for all the pain that I might be in. And then you can also get specific about emotions. What you can bring your attention to the specific emotions and ask yourself, like, what is this emotion? Label it. And then explore it further. Where is it in my body? What is the sensation? And what can you tell yourself about that emotion or situation that creates safety? You can also connect with truth, right? What is true about you or about this emotion or about this situation? What's true that might be stirring up the pain, the sadness, the anger, the disappointment, the discouragement, whatever it is? What is the truth in that? And then also, what is truth that brings healing? What is truth that brings peace? What is truth that creates safety? This, my friends, is the two-step process of creating space. If you've been walking through this with me, just notice what you're experiencing. You're going to, in order to really create space, you also have to increase your willingness to experience all emotion. And when you increase your willingness to experience all emotion, what do? You conserve energy, right? You're no longer fighting the energy, resisting it, trying to escape it. Sorry, fighting the emotion. You're not fighting the emotion, resisting it, or trying to escape it. And so when you open yourself up to experience and allow any emotion, you conserve energy. You also generate energy. You let that emotion be. Notice the approach is soft, not forceful. You're creating space successfully when you experience this softness. That's the best way that I can describe it. That's how I have been able to distinguish, you know, resistance versus acceptance, or closing off versus opening up, creating space versus reducing space. When I'm creating space successfully, there's this softness. There's not force. There's this sense of acceptance. There's love, compassion, healing. That is what I have for you, my friends. As you practice creating space regularly, you will increase your capacity to move. You will increase your capacity to take action after being stuck in inaction. You will be able to move forward toward the thing you want. Have a wonderful day and week ahead, and I can't wait to speak to you again. Please let me know anything that comes up for you as you practice this, or challenges you face in implementing this. I'd love to hear your thoughts and work through this together so that we all can increase our capacity to move forward. Now, let's all create space and move forward together. Have a wonderful week. Bye, everyone.